guys, welcome back to my channel, Life as Kel. It's all about me, Kel, and my life. And today I'm going to share with you how I landed my first full-time job in the middle of this global pandemic. So stay tuned to hear my story and some tips on how to successfully start a new job from home. So to start, I graduated from Monmouth University this past May with a master's degree in public and corporate communication. I decided to go back for my master's degree because it was free, and I could get it done in a year, and I figured I'd be better off having it than not having it. At the time, I only had my bachelor's degree in media production from Monmouth University as well, and I thought that I wanted to do something more, but I didn't know exactly what that was yet. So I went in not having much direction, but fast forward to one of my first master's classes called Responsive Media, and during that class I had the opportunity to step up as a class project manager for a class project that we were working on. And all of my peers and my teacher noticed my talents in this kind of position, and they said, hey, you'd be really great as a project manager for like an actual company outside of this classroom. I really took those words to heart, and I sat and I thought long and hard about what I really liked about project management. Like, I liked creative problem solving, I liked collaborating with and leading a team, I liked making processes more efficient, so I could absolutely see myself doing project management. And that was all it took for me. I had my new focus, and I was able to go into my internship search with some clarity in my new career objectives. So to begin my internship search, I started by learning more about the field. I did this by capitalizing on connections that I had or that my peers had. So I went onto LinkedIn and I looked up project managers near me. And I basically reached out to every project manager that I thought had an interesting role at their company or were at companies that I thought I might want to work for in the future. This yielded great results. I got tons of little coffee dates or casual meetup appointments with executives at these companies. So from those conversations, I was able to really narrow down how I was going to gain project management experience, because my program was in public and corporate communication. Project management was completely out of left field as far as anything in communication was concerned. So I followed their advice and I took some additional supplemental learning things online. I joined certain groups that were for project managers, and I became really picky in my internship search. I knew that this was going to be my last internship and that it would set me up for success in a career post-graduation. I ended up settling on a digital marketing agency in Belmar, New Jersey. I learned a lot from the agency for the short amount of time that I was there. Number one, work environment and work culture became so important to me. I knew that I wanted to get up to work every single day and enter the office and smile and laugh with my coworkers and get along with them well and be productive as a unit. If you're in a position where you're constantly collaborating with a team and those team members don't get along or the vibe is off, it's not going to be enjoyable and you're most likely not going to meet your project objectives. Which leads me to the next thing that I learned most about, which was account management and project management. At this internship, I gained so much hands-on experience. I was working with clients every single day, and I was learning from the best of the best. I was able to leverage that experience to get me the job that I have now. Now, the company that I work for at the moment, everyone at Monmouth really wanted to work there. Like, they paid their interns, they have a slide in the lobby, they have a really great work environment and work culture, and everybody really wanted to be there. I was no exception. So I was able to use one of the connections that I had made through the girl that was in my responsive media class in the beginning of the semester. And she must have been the right person to talk to, because the woman I spoke with got me a phone interview the next week. So I'm 2 phone interviews in at this point, and the next step is to go in for an on-site interview. And all of a sudden, this pandemic hits out of nowhere. So the HR woman calls me up and she says, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but you're gonna have to do a virtual interview instead of an in-person interview because we're not having anyone on the job site for the foreseeable future. I was more nervous about a Zoom meeting than I was about going in person. There was something about like the technology aspect of it that just freaked me out, but I was excited to get an interview nonetheless. So after that interview, I was waiting a while to hear back, and then I got this email. So here's a quick horror story for you. One day, I received an email from the company, and it was a job offer for the position of project coordinator that I was currently interviewing for. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I'm only 3 interviews in. They like me so much. They said that there were more interviews to come. Like, this is crazy. I called everyone in my family the second I got that email. Fast forward to an hour later when the HR woman calls me with regret in her voice. She literally said, I am so sorry to tell you this, Kelly, but the email that you received was a mistake. Y'all, I cried I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. I cried so quickly upon hearing those words come out of her mouth. It was like all of my hopes and dreams in that moment were just shattered like that. And first of all, I was thinking in my head, like, first of all, what a screw up. That must be like the worst thing to happen as an HR professional, to have accidentally given somebody a job and then have to take it back. So like I felt bad for her, but I was really feeling badly for me because I then had to proceed to call every single person back and let them know that I in fact did not get the job. That was kind of a rough point for me. I was a little bit demoralized and I really didn't know how it was going to go. The woman said I was still a candidate for the position, but at this point I was like, it could be a pity thing for, the mistake that just happened. So I waited and I had another interview. And after that interview, they told me the official news that I did not get the job. But there was a silver lining because they said although they filled the project coordinator role with another candidate, they did have a content operations specialist role opening up on the same team that they'd like to consider me for. Now, this is where I'd say you have to trust the process. This new role, when it was pitched to me at first, I didn't know if it was up my alley. I had my heart set on this other role. But I decided to take a leap and interview for the position, and I ended up getting it. And I'm so grateful that I did. This job could not be more up my alley. It takes into consideration my love of project management with my background in media production and content management, and it's truly like the perfect position. Who would have thought that all of this would lead to this moment? I was meeting with people at Starbucks, I was reaching out on LinkedIn, I got a phone interview, that horrible email went out to me, and then now I'm in a role that I feel so fulfilled in. I never could imagine that I'd be here, but I'm really glad that I opened myself up to new opportunities. So I stick by my point that everything happens for a reason. What is meant for you will be yours. So now let's get into some tips for starting a new job from home. There are a few considerations that you have to take, one of them being environmental considerations. You're going to be working in a space that you usually live in, right? So you have to make the space a productive work environment, right? You have to create a space that works for you because it might not already exist in your current home. For example, Joshua and I, for weeks we were working side by side on the couch next to each other, and as much as I loved being with him and he loved my company, it really wasn't working out for me productivity-wise. I was distracted, and he really likes to keep the rooms cold and dark, and I'm the complete opposite. I need there to be lots of light, and he also likes to work with background noise with the TV on, and I like to work in complete silence. So as you can see, it was kind of a recipe for me not getting much work done. And, all the stresses of starting a brand new job, it was just a very overwhelming situation. And I didn't realize how much these environmental factors contributed to my stress. So we brought the desk that I'm currently at now into the bedroom, and we decided to create my own workspace in here just for me. This was a game changer for me. I am so productive, and it's nice because I get to still go in the other room and check in on him in his little cave over there, but I get to come in here and work in my ideal working conditions. My next tip about the environmental considerations is also having a place to step away from work. It's nice that my work area is in the bedroom because when I need a break from work, I just leave the bedroom and I go into the other room, the living room, the kitchen, and I hang out with Joshua or I step away from my computer. It's important to have this separation because when you're home, it's easy to blur the lines between work you and home you. And they're going to coexist in the same space for a while, so you need to find a balance. That's one of the reasons I won't work out of my bed. As nice as it is to get the luxury of just rolling over and maybe opening up your laptop on your lap while you're laying down, I definitely recommend against it. For one, it would make sleeping at night more difficult because you can't separate work from rest. But for another thing, I find it hard to be productive when I'm in that state because I'm not fully awake, I'm kind of sleepy. I could either go right back to sleep or I could get a whole bunch of work done. It can go either way. But usually I end up getting sleepy again, and Joshua has to come back in and wake me up. So my next few tips are about the interpersonal considerations of working from home. When you're onboarding for a new job from home, you're not onboarding in the traditional way that you would if you were in the office. I mean, obviously, duh, right? But these are things you actually have to consider because I've had to be more self-directed because I can't shadow my boss like I traditionally would if I were in the office. I'd follow her into meetings. She would show me, I'd look over her shoulder and she would show me how she was answering emails or anything like that. When we're in two separate locations, it makes it really hard for those learning opportunities. So I had to make sure to self-advocate and ask a lot of questions. If you're in separate locations, your boss can't tell if you're struggling or not unless you reach out and tell her you are. So when I first started, I was kind of overwhelmed by all the tasks being thrown at me. My boss is a very, very busy woman. She's amazing at her job, and she relies on me to handle tasks that she just needs off her plate. But to start, these tasks were a little overwhelming for me. This wasn't what I was used to. And at first, I was putting them all in a Post-it note on my laptop. And then by the end of the day, I found that I just had this laundry list of items, of tasks, and I had no idea the status on anything. I didn't know who I was supposed to report to, and all of the details were missing. So I decided to speak up, which I'm so glad I did. And I told my boss, I said, listen, I need at least 15 minutes from you every single day in the morning, whenever you have time, just for us to sit down and align our tasks and align our calendars to make sure I'm doing the right thing. She was so receptive to this, and I'm so grateful for that because now we meet daily and we get stuff done, man. We are so productive and we're on the same page, which is really important. And we didn't have that before we decided to use this new method. So definitely kind of assess yourself and see what you need and what your priorities are and express those to your boss because hopefully and typically they're in a position that they can help you. For me, my success was all about time management and task management. I have this big Excel spreadsheet, and let me tell you, I didn't know how to use Excel before like 2 weeks ago. Joshua taught me how to use Excel, and I made this giant spreadsheet that has all my tasks, the status, the date it was assigned, the date it was completed, any notes, any links I need to the documents. It's really, really helpful. So every day during my 15 to 30 minute meeting with my boss, I go through and I highlight the main tasks that I need to be updating her on or that I need clarification on, and it makes it go by so smoothly. If I was using my Post-it note, I'd be scrambling, I'd be like Control F on my computer to try to find a certain thing. This is so easy, so I highly recommend you being fluent in Excel if you aren't already. The other thing I did to really help myself stay organized is to sync all of my calendars. Now, I have a physical planner, but I also have my virtual calendars that are synced up to both of my laptops and both of my phones. This is so helpful because if I have one device versus another, I will always know what meetings I have, what appointments I need to get to, and I can stay on top of my tasks and my meetings for the day. My next tip is about setting boundaries with your boss and your coworkers. Just because you're home does not mean you need to make yourself available to work 24/7. It's easy to just keep your laptop open or your work phone on you at all times, but you really need to learn how to shut it off and again, separate work you from home you. If you were going into the office from 9 to 5, no one would really expect you to work when you got home. It doesn't make any sense, but since you're not commuting, your commute is from your bed to your desk right here, people may expect you to kind of always be available. And you need to take it upon yourself to set boundaries and say no. Like, listen, once it gets to 5:30, 6 p.m., if you need to reach me, I'll tend to the message in the morning because I shut it off. I spend time with Joshua. We have dinner together. We have a nice night. I really needed to shut work off and be me for a few hours every single night, and then definitely on weekends. So you also need to make sure you build in time for human connection and team and coworker bonding. When you're in the office, you're in the cubicle next to somebody else. Maybe you guys go to lunch together, you chit chat throughout the day. When you're working from home, you really have to carve out times to do those same things. When I first started my job, I would schedule little 15-minute one-on-ones just to get to know the people on my team or schedule a virtual lunch with people who I thought maybe I could become friends with or get to know more. One thing about amplifying human connection is we use Zoom for all of our meetings, and I'm the type of person that doesn't like to keep my camera on during Zoom meetings, but the rest of my team are very like camera on, lights on kind of people. And while you may be uncomfortable with that at first, kind of play around with it because I do understand that it makes it easier to connect with someone when you can see them face to face. But at the same time, you get to work from home, take advantage of the fact that you don't have to keep your camera on 24/7. Next, take advantage of working from home. I certainly do. My workday starts at 9. I don't roll out of bed until 8:30. It's wonderful. If I were traveling to the office, I would have to get up at 7 a.m. I get to sleep in. So if you get to sleep in like I do, definitely take advantage of that. And, I, for one, keep my pajama bottoms on all day because the camera on Zoom only sees from here up. So I'm taking advantage of those little guilty pleasures, if you will, while I'm working from home. I also take advantage of the fact that I get to work with my boyfriend right in the next room. Usually if we were working in our separate offices, we would text each other throughout the day or maybe have a phone call. But now it's like anytime I want to see him or talk to him or just know he's there, I just get to open this door and see him. And it's so nice that people who get to work from home now are getting to spend more time with their families or their loved ones. So absolutely take advantage of that because that's something we should never ever take for granted. And lastly, don't get too comfortable working from home because if you're like me, you will eventually have to transition back to the office. For me, this transition is going to be rough. I'm going to have to get used to waking up about an hour and a half earlier than I do right now every day. And aside from that, I'm going to have to get used to being productive completely from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Right now, I may watch a Netflix movie in the background throughout my workday, or I'll listen to a podcast or something, or I'll be scrolling through social media. Those activities might be frowned upon in the office. So I'm definitely going to have to start getting myself into the mindset of that 9 to 5 lifestyle when it's time to transition back to the office. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy working from home. To wrap it all up, starting a new job from home can be challenging, but if you take into consideration some of the things that we spoke about in this video, you can make it a really enjoyable experience and it can be a rewarding process. Remember to be patient with yourself during these unprecedented times. These circumstances we couldn't have imagined in a million years. And now if you're fortunate enough to still be employed, making your work from home scenario work for you is really, really important. So I wish you the best of luck if you're starting a new job from home. I hope these tips were helpful. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video.